Kingy is my co-host. He's along for the ride as always. Kingy, what was your first thoughts this morning?
Well, I was blown away when the teams lobbed that Finlayson was out. Now, you would have clearly more intel than all of us. You said just prior to 7 that you weren't shocked. Obviously, he's not in scintillating form. It's just such a drastic change at this stage is doable. There's no doubt about that. We saw Noble get dropped from the Pies a couple of weeks ago to maybe shake the tree a little bit, shake the camp and see if he can get a response, which they got. Could they have looked at using him back? It was my own...
Maybe, yeah. But, and that was probably the only thought I had as well. Now, if Mackenzie didn't get up, I'm assuming that's the way they would have gone. I think it gets to a point when he was just uncompetitive. And I know this sounds strong, but when you can't compete and when you're not competing or when you're refusing to compete, it gets to the point where you can't keep being selected. Now, with Dixon back, that's the way that they've gone. Now, it's a really hard one to talk about because Jeremy has some really difficult things going on in his life, and I can't even fathom what he and his beautiful wife Kelly are going through at the moment. So you may need to factor that in as well in and around this decision. So it's not an easy one to discuss, but he's kicked their most goals for the year. He was awesome in the first half of the year and was a really important player for them and had some big games. So look, he'll be disappointed to lose his place in the side, but there may be some other things going on that are far more important than football.
Well, and that we just have to throw our arms around him if that's the case. But and that's extremely sad. Where are we at with Dixon? How with the level of fitness?
It's a risk, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, historically he's been okay coming in off a long rest, but it's a big ask. Like against a very good defence to come in. I mean, they'll just be asking him to compete. He's a pretty influential figure in and amongst the group, but he's 31 years of age. His body has not been good to him in recent times, but they'll just be hoping he can provide a spark and a contest and make sure that Taylor doesn't mark the footy and that Buckley doesn't mark the footy as well and give them a more of a contest in the forward line. Kingy, I wonder if Moneyball is coming into AFL football a little bit. So for those that have seen the movie, it's a magnificent movie with Brad Pitt about the baseball side that they put together with a whole heap of no-names. Let's have a listen.
It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that nobody else can see.
And looking forward to the trade period. And the names that are on the board, Kingy: Zirk Thatcher, Mackay, Henry, Radigalia, Sweet, Duday, Gresham, Grundy, Stevens. They're not big names, are they? And on the back of what Bedford has done for the Giants, what Hill has done for Collingwood, and what Akers has done, where you didn't actually pay a lot to get them, but they've played a really important role. I just think, like, Port Adelaide going Zirk Thatcher, Sweet, and Radigalia. There's got to be Moneyball about that, doesn't it? Like, you're projecting forward because they're not big names at all.
So what are you saying? Are you happy with those selections or not?
No, I'm not. I'm on the surface. I'm going, why are they going that path? But half of it is a need, like they need a ruckman and they need some key defenders. But half of it must be we think there is value in this player that perhaps their club hasn't seen yet.
Well, it has to be. I mean, these guys are all 25 years of age plus.
Yeah.
So the worry that I've got with it is they're 25 years of age. I think Sweet's only played like 11 games.
Yep, 11.
So he's an unknown quantity. You've got Radigalia, who's probably played, a dozen games down back, and he's going to become your prime centre-half back. He's an unknown quantity in that role. And Zirk Thatcher, well, he's not exactly Steve Silvani, and he hasn't played a lot of footy either.
He's not, so it has to be Moneyball. So you're not. The thing is, you're not giving much to get them, and you're not paying them a lot. Although Radigalia probably gets a good wage,
but a good lick.
Yeah, I just wonder whether that's coming into it a little bit more, and they're looking at the stats and they're looking at other sports as to try and work out a way that they can put a winning team together.
I'm interested in the timing of all this, and you can't protect the inside football club from the outside noise. I wonder what this does to the guys that are in those positions. Does it have any impact on them, the incumbents, going into a final?
Maybe. I spoke about this with Scott Lysett, like with the club meeting, Brodie Grundy, is like, how's the confidence level in Lysett? But I think he would be probably fully aware that this will be his last season and he's got to give it all he's got for the last remaining games that are there for him. Tell us about the Blues forward line.
Well, this is the other thing that hit me when I had a quick look this morning. It doesn't really scare you, does it? Like Charlie Curnow, absolute top liner, superstar. So just move his magnet for a moment. Kicked 80-odd goals for the season.
Mm.
Who worries you of the rest? You know, without Harry there and without Martin there and without Silvani, who's, you know, he's put 14 goals together for the year. Jack Martin's a massive out. TDK's kicked 7 goals. Motlop's kicked 15. Owies has kicked 26. Pretty good effort. Who's going to kick their goals if it's not Charlie? They're just going to fold back on Charlie all night. All night. Lever will be there. May will be there. Gawn will be there. So if Charlie can't provide, in my opinion, probably needs to have a 4-goal game for them to win. They're not going to score outside of that, are they?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good observation. I'm hot on Melbourne tonight, and I know Carlton fans will say, hang on, we beat them recently and we didn't have some big names in there, but I just, for that reason, because May's going to go to Curnow, he's got a good record against him this year. Lever's going to do as he pleases, so they'll have to try and occupy him, and then Tomlinson probably takes to Koning as the resting ruckman or extra tall down there. So you're right, and they defend so well. So unless Charlie really gets a hold of them, but I mean, last week they had Cottrell bob up and kick a couple.
Yeah, that was great.
Like Akers bobbed up and kicked one. So that's what they're going to be relying on. Walsh needs to get his footy in the front half of the ground. Cripps kicked 20 goals last year. Can he somehow hit the scoreboard? These are the things that are going to take a pretty landmark victory for the Blues if it goes that way.
For them to win, they're probably going to have to find 5 goals from the midfield.
Yep. Which is not
big ask.
It's a big ask, but it's not. It's not unrealistic. I think you can do it. Doherty needs to push forward and kick one. So and Motlop can get hot. I've seen him get hot this year, so we'll see. They just can't be letting Melbourne mark the footy in their forward line. That ball's just got to come to ground, and that must be the priority for them. Everyone is on board the GWS Giants, Kingy. Everyone is on board.
Everyone's on board?
Everyone is on board. I've never seen a groundswell like it. Now, you're driving the bus, but I was watching 360 last night with Kath and Derm and Joey. They're all on the bus. Horny's on the bus. He was driving it on Tuesday. Jared Healy, my co-host, is on the bus. Do they just think it's going to happen? Like, is there danger in that? Everyone on this bus.
Well, I don't think they care. They wouldn't care whether we're on the bus or not. But very rarely you get to this stage of the season and you have absolute pure health. Health's your best player at this stage of the year, and they not only have that, they've got a brand of footy that's the best with the possession of the prune, and almost best without it. So I don't know what more you need to see to understand they're a significant threat to not just this week, but to the flag. Do you not agree?
No, it's just for the team that is playing against the top 4 side away from home with the amount of travel that they've had, it's been a groundswell. So Joey last night, he said they're the most complete team in the competition, from stoppage, from transition, from their turnover game, which is in line with your thoughts and what you've just said then. So we'll see. We'll see if there's an ambush waiting for them, or we'll see if those all aboard the Giants bus is going to come to fruition. And honestly, I just wanted to play that song because I think it's a terrific song. One thing we don't do is hold back on Fireball Friday, and we certainly don't hold back at finals time. We'd love you to get involved in this as well. So apart from those ridiculous plane travellers that are doing my head in, who else is in the gun this morning? Kingy, who have you got?
Travis Boak. At 35 years of age, almost 350 games, the toughest thing to do in AFL football is to exit your champions with class and dignity and have it absolutely nailed on all fronts, player, coach and club. It's a very difficult thing. This one has all the hallmarks of getting ugly for me. But let's just talk about the specifics of this game. I think Ken needs to trust Travis again. Hiding him on a wing or a half forward's not working. He's become an uncontested possession player with no impact, zero impact. In the last 6 weeks, it's been 15 contested possessions, 36 uncontested. To me, that's not really what he's about. I think Ken has to trust him. He has to put him back in at some centre bounce clearances. He's done 4 centre bounce clearances in 7 weeks. What that will, the flow and effect of that is you can use Rosie a bit more forward. You can use Butters a little bit more forward on a night where they're going to need some other scoring power. Horn Francis the same. So don't hide him on a wing. Don't hide him at half forward. Throw the challenge back to Travis to recapture some form of old for one given game and fight to the finish, because I just feel like this is just frittering away to a really meek and mild finish.
Hard to argue with any of that. I tend to agree with everything that you've just said. It doesn't have to be every centre bounce, but let him go in there. I think they're worried about his ball handling and how sure he is with that, and has he become a little bit fumbly. But the first statement that you make about the hallmarks of being an ugly exit, I hope it doesn't go that way, because no one has been more important for that football club in the last 15 to 20 years, and hopefully he comes to that realisation as well and goes out somewhat on top. I would have thought, right, Charlie Curnow's in the gun for me. He's the best player on the ground tonight. He is the best player there, and for them to win, he's going to have to get a hold of them. I think he was well beaten last week. I thought Tom McCartan was outstanding, and I just didn't think he worked hard enough. I didn't think he got to enough contests. I thought he was outmarked too often. So he's going to have to compete like he hasn't competed before in a long time. It's going to be against 2. It's going to be against 3 opponents. Can he get up the ground? Can he kick the ball inside forward 50? He's 3 and 1 goals in his last 2. I think he's been well beaten by Taylor and well beaten on the weekend by McCartan. He's going to get a good player in May, but athletically he's got May covered everywhere. But it's not just going to be May, it's going to be the other opponents. So when you win the Coleman, when you celebrate that, when you put your hands up to say that you've won 2 in round 24, it's not about winning Colemans, it's about winning finals. And when you're the best player on the ground, you've got to produce a performance worthy of that. Right, let's take your calls. Ben is in Brunswick. You got a couple of us in the gun, Ben. Why so?
Yeah. Good morning, boys. How are we?
Hey, Ben, how are you, mate?
Good. So I've got you 2 in the gun. So you picked, both of you overwhelming, picked Melbourne to beat Carlton. What do you base that on?
I base that on, so often we get sucked in to the winner of the elimination final and the loser of the qualifying final, and rarely do they get beaten. Rarely does a team go out in straight sets. I know it happens from time to time, but rarely does it happen. You finish top 4 for a reason. That's because you're the better team in the home and away season. I think Melbourne are a better team, Benny. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm going. I think Melbourne get it done reasonably comfortably. You don't agree?
No, I don't. I mean, disposals, Carlton is better than Melbourne. Disposal efficiency, better than Melbourne. Scores from inside 50, better than Melbourne. Inside 50 is better than Melbourne. Tackles,
sounds like horny. Melbourne. Benny, you're starting to sound like horny there, mate.
Nah, well, these are the facts. I understand if you're just tipping without the facts, but the facts say that Carlton should beat them.
Okay. Well, give us a call next Friday. Let's have a chat next Friday. Look, it's a genuine 50-50 game, but I think the absence of Jack Martin will be realised at about 10:30 tonight. Yep. I think it's a huge out. He's everything to their forward 50. The tackler, a pressure builder. He's a goal kicker. He's a pseudo second tall. Oh, it's the cruelest of blows for Michael Voss.
Hey, what's on your agenda, Kingy?
Down at Collingwood earlier in the week. So on Monday, Nick Daicos did a running session post their little hit out. And we'll just put it up on the socials and get you to have a look at it if you can on SEN Breakfast. I'm just wondering how much he needs to improve in the space of the next sort of 10 days before you absolutely select him for a prelim. Because he's still clearly this is a massive injury, So we're not downplaying it or underselling it. But all the conversation that I hear around the traps is who's coming out for Nick? Who's being left out of the team for Nick? Is it Lipinski? Is it Mitchell? Is it Ginnivan? All these options as to who's coming out. I think he has to improve significantly from where he is right now.
You don't think he looks good?
I just don't think it's an absolute lock that he's ready to go for a prelim on what I've seen so far. Now, they train again today at 3:30 and you get another opportunity to have a look, and he's going to have to make some ground, and I'm sure he will. He will improve and will get better. But on what you see right now, you couldn't be absolute that he's a lock for a prelim.
Pies fans, what do you think? It would be a big risk if he's not good to go. There's a fair amount of time. It feels like he's improved really quickly in the last week since he probably first started running, but you're right. You'd want to make sure he's absolutely good to go. He's got 15 years at the level in front of him. Yeah, it is. It is a fine line. I just want to put something really small on the agenda, but how is the relief when you are a supporter of a team and one of your good forwards gets the footy from 35 metres out and slots it straight through early in the game from a set shot? So I'm watching tonight. I'm going to be watching Fritsch. Can he respond to perhaps a few demons from last week? I'm watching Curnow. Like, sometimes he can spray them, Curnow, but sometimes he just absolutely nails it, and that may be from 50 or it might be from 25 metres out directly in front. What if the Koning gets a shot from 25 in front? Can you fully trust that he's going to go back and slot it? On Saturday night, Todd Marshall couldn't hit the side of anything when he was having a shot at Brisbane. Is he going to go back? Is he going to put that to the side and absolutely nail it? So just that relief as a footy fan when you're watching and one of your players does what they are paid to do and slots it straight through the middle and you go, okay, we are on tonight. So let's see how that goes on the biggest stage tonight.
Carlton fans are nervous, Cornsey. They've started the week absolutely brash and full of beans and we're rolling, we're up and going. Mm-hmm. And as the week's rolled on, the nerves have settled in.
Bit of doubt, you think?
The start tonight is so important. I think sometimes a supporter base as big as Carlton's and Collingwood's and Hawthorn's at times, they can be used against you when things don't go your way early in games. And the murmurs start. The silence is in a lot of ways just tells the story for the Melbourne players. They'll fuel themselves on keeping those Carlton fans at bay. I want to hear from Carlton fans this morning just how they're feeling, because I think there's been a big shift from full of beans, going to get the job done, to, gee, how are we going to go tonight? Are you going tonight? I'm still going. Are you going to go?
Few doubts, a bit of nerves. I just wanted to put Melbourne's mindset on the agenda, and off air on Monday night at Footy Classified, Lordy was speaking clearly about the Brayshaw incident. He said, I just wonder how distracted Melbourne have been by this, and is it time that they just put that aside? And there was family members talking, there was dads, there was brothers, there was Simon Goodwin, and clearly there was a lot of anger over this incident, but they needed to shift their focus and reset onto this game of football. So, and then he spoke about it on Footy Classified on Wednesday, and I thought it was a pretty good point that Lordo made. I mean, have they been able to put all of the drama to one side and actually focus on getting it done tonight? And to your point on the start, we're going to find out pretty quickly where Melbourne's mindset is at and how much of a distraction this week has been